Hello again, everyone. Sometimes it feels like our individual days are so hectic and busy and changeable and unexpected in their outcomes that we reach the end of the day and we feel exhausted. We feel kind of blindsided, or maybe that our whole schedule went sideways, or we just sit there totally baffled by what we have seen around us. And so we end the day feeling rather tired, and then we wake up the next morning, hopefully after some sleep, and instinctively think, well, gee, today's got to be better, or I hope it's going to be better, or it better be better than yesterday was. So I wanted to offer a few suggestions about using some natural cycles to help us have a little bit wider perspective, a little bit more encouragement for what we're doing and intending, and more support for our energetic offerings as well, rather than just relying on ourselves and what we see happening around us. Let's leverage these natural cycles to help us a little bit more with our understanding and our timing. So I wanted to start first with the moon cycle, which I'm sure all of you are aware of. It's very easy to find an app or a calendar or a poster or some other program that can tell you, each day the phase of the moon. But using the monthly moon cycle and then breaking it into new moon to full moon, which is about 2 weeks, and then the reverse from full moon to new moon, uh, just extending that to look beyond one day or even a couple of days or a week gives us a little bit broader perspective right away. So when we have the new moon, we could do a lot of research and find out the name of the new moon and what sign it's in, all that type of thing. But I find that for people that are sincere in their intentions, and just consciously aware that they'd like to, tune into the moon cycle and use it, that whatever you're intuitively feeling is what you need to focus on for your intentions for that period. It could be clearing physical space. It could be clearing something personally. It could be healing a particular area that you've been wanting to. Could be developing a new skill, starting a new project, figuring out how you want to handle a new relationship, for example. But just by doing that, you've already put in your mind, this is something I'm going to do over this coming period, which is going to be supported by what's going on with the Earth and the Moon, since they're so close together, especially. And then when you reach the full moon day, just remembering to take the time to look back and see what you have accomplished. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when you get out of the weeds, so to speak, and look at the forest, that you have actually made the progress that you wanted to, or you've had some other significant events or supports which have moved you along the way. And the other thing about full moon that I find is very important these days is to give ourselves some time to actually rejoice in what we've learned, where we've come during that period, even a seemingly short period. Um, we're still battling with the old human paradigm of, oh, gee, that's nice, I accomplished it, let's move on. But actually taking a little bit of time to sit with that joy and to appreciate it and to know that that's a great place to be, that it's deserved, that it's our birthright, and that that's really where we want to focus our more of our attention going forward than we ever have before. And then when we're winding down from full moon to new moon, of course, that's a time for releasing energies that we don't need anymore, about making some new plans based upon what we have accomplished or what we have seen, and then starting the cycle over again. So that's the first shorter cycle that may be of help. The second would be looking at the seasons, of course. The Northern Hemisphere here, we're in the middle of the summer season, which is tending to your crops, enjoying hopefully some good weather, maybe expanding yourself through travel, outdoor activities, trying some new things. Um, really being in the open, expressive portion of the year. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, of course, it's the winter, so it's more of a time for contemplation, some pre-planning, for the spring that will be coming up. But again, that's a little bit longer cycle. We're talking now about, quarterly, a 3 month or so time frames. After that, we could look, for example, to some of the planets that are in the retrograde positions. And usually, we see splashed on social media that that's a time to be perhaps fearful or overly cautious, that type of thing. But I actually like to look at the retrograde phases as being a pause phase. And perhaps, as you've also read, that it's a great time for the other re words during retrograde or the pause phase. Think about revisiting, reconsidering, reinventing, recontemplating what you've been doing. Right now, through the third week of July, Mercury, the planet that is involved with communications, outreach, um, uh, reaching understandings between people, working with communication tools, that will be in its pause phase. So it's a great time for us to use that natural cycle to take a step back and say, okay, how are my projects going? If I feel like I'm trying to force something to happen, or I'm not getting the resources that I need, or I'm just running into roadblocks, or I'm just frustrated and irritated about what I'm trying to do, it's a good time to take that step back and to say, okay, I think I need to do a little bit further contemplation. Maybe there's another resource that I can tap into that I haven't thought about, and follow that supportive cycle that's happening rather than trying to push through everything. Another planet which is in its pause cycle right now is Pluto, which is been a very instrumental effect right now, being in the Aquarius sign of societal changes, systemic changes, fundamental changes, and transforming what has been into new. And so, from the beginning of May through mid October of this year, Pluto is taking a bit of a pause. So, we've certainly seen during the last years a lot of change, a lot of upheaval, um, a lot of questioning about systems that weren't working well or are breaking down completely. So while we're contemplating that, rather than rushing in to try to do some quick fixes or demanding answers right now, this is a good time to say, okay, we've seen a picture of what's going on. We don't like it. We'd like to do something different. So, what are our values? How can I talk with my family, my community, the larger global population about what we can do differently? Let's compare some notes before we actually try to implement anything. So when we look at that longer phase and look at these retrogrades as pauses and times for contemplation, it helps us to get things in better perspective when that planetary influence starts moving forward. And whatever the planet is in the future that happens to be in that position, you can take a similar pause, whether it's Venus or Jupiter or Mars, whatever happens to be going on in your life, just direct it in that way. And then for a still longer phase, for example, if you look at the Chinese astrology, and most of us have heard a lot this year about the year of the fire horse, which is clearly a very energetic, explosive, unpredictable, um, high, hot energy, where a lot can happen very quickly in unexpected ways. If we know that this is going on a global basis, it makes it a little bit easier to have a perspective when we see some of that coming to us more personally or more directly. And then if you look at next February, the following season to that will be the fire goat. So still a lot of energy, a lot of heat, a lot of change, but that is going to be more in the way of a lantern or a candle or more of fire, which is has the embers that you would maybe cook your s'mores on if you don't like them burned, for example. Um, so if you have a perspective, and it makes sense to you, if it makes sense to you, that during this period, these months, that there's a huge amount of change, huge amount of upset, getting people's attention, that it's not going to continue forever, but it is important time. And then what follows that will be a little bit gentler time, but more of a time to nurture the new ideas that we're coming up with, putting into account the values that we're determining are important and our priorities right now. If you look the further the year after that, will be the Earth Monkey. So then we'd be looking at a lot of grounding energy. We're certainly going to be looking at the monkey who's curious, who's very intelligent, likes to come up with lots of ideas, lots of ways to implement things. But it will be in a more grounded way. We'll be able to put into account a lot of the ideas that we've had, a lot of the changes that we'd like to see in a more considered way. So those are just four potential options for you to look at for cycles. Maybe this few minutes here will spur you to remember something else that has been meaningful to you in the past, or to put together a combination of these or others that will really work for you personally. But I hope that something in these few minutes here will help you navigate each of our hectic days in our lives and help show you that your energetic intentions and your accomplishments, and more importantly, your being here has a huge impact on all of these factors here, both personally and in your community and around the world. So, best of luck with that. I hope that support and those ideas work for you there. And until next time, may the force be with you and in you.